Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast with me, Seshadri. It's been a hot minute since the last episode. Now, I know, I didn't inform anyone on the previous podcast episode as to what I was doing and why there won't be a couple of episodes. So, I traveled out of station, which is why I couldn't do the episodes on the Burnley game, which thankfully I missed, seeing as we lost our home record, seeing as we lost 1-0. I was also out of station when we played Manchester United in the FA Cup. So I did watch the game, but I couldn't do a podcast episode because I didn't take my mic set with me, basically, the whole microphone and headphones and stuff. I just didn't take it with me. And then I had some health issues which prevented me from doing anything for the 3-1 win against Tottenham. So it's been a topsy-turvy week, let's say. Still not over, but I did manage to find time. So this episode is going to be a little bit of a freewheeling episode. Let's just, I just want to take a look back a little bit at those three games, kind of see where we've done well. And we've generally done well. The Burnley game was obviously a low point, but I didn't think we were all that bad. I didn't think that... I thought that game represented a slight uptick in fortunes, if you will, because... And I know it's very ironic to say that in a game where we lost our home record and we lost 1-0, but I do believe that is the game we really sort of turned a little bit of a corner, especially in terms of how we were looking going forward. Obviously we couldn't finish, and that's obviously been a little bit of an issue in the past couple of weeks, which again we've rectified in the two games subsequently. But that's kind of been an issue for us. But I think what I would say is the game against Burnley, that's really when the first time I felt, okay, Liverpool were back. Yes, we may not have won the game, we may not have scored, and that's still something we needed to work on, but I didn't think we played badly. I thought certain players played badly, and looking back at the highlights, I thought Origi should have really sort of put his chances when he got them. I mean, I don't know what he's doing going for the top corner in a one-on-one situation like that with nobody around him, just slotted coolly into the bottom corner. I mean, one-on-ones are hard, I get it, but to try and aim for a top corner from the top of the box, from the edge of the box, I don't think that's the wisest decision he's ever taken in the Liverpool shirt. So I think Origi is capable of better. I think he knows that. I think everybody in the team knows that. Every fan knows that. And that cost us. That really did cost us at least 2 points. Let's not, even if Burnley had gone on and got the same penalty that they did eventually get, I think it cost us at least 2 points. It cost us at least a point. I'm sorry. Overall, I thought most of the players did well against Burnley. I thought there were a few duds like Origi, and I've been saying this for quite some time, but he needs to go from the club. He needs to go. Obviously, winter may not be the ideal sort of selling time in during a football season, but and maybe you don't want to sell right now as a club either. But I think what I would say is, summer, Origi needs to go. There's just no two ways about it. There's a couple of other people as well who need to go, but we'll start with Origi. He needs to go. He's too slow. He's immobile. Our attack just stagnates when he's in the team, and I can't get my head around. He's a really good player, no doubt about it. Did a lot for us in the Champions League against Barcelona and against Tottenham, but there comes a point where you can't rest on laurels. You need to actually prove that you belong. And, I admire Klopp's loyalty to his players, but I think there comes a point where, it came with Daniel Sturridge, it came with Alberto Moreno. It's come with Divock Origi, I think, and he needs to go. Now, obviously, like I said, this is a freewheeling episode, so we're going to talk about Burnley, Manchester United, and Tottenham mainly, but also I'm going to touch a little bit upon what happened at Chelsea with Frank Lampard getting sacked. So that's something that I will have a few thoughts on, and that's something that I will talk about a little bit. But by and large, this is a Liverpool episode, so if you're looking for some general football content, this podcast may not be the one for you, because this is, I will touch upon important stuff, but this is, it's a Liverpool podcast. It's going to be about Liverpool. So, right, let's shift our focus to Manchester United. Now, this was the first game where, Mo Salah scored 2. Obviously, we lost the game 3-2. Brilliant free kick at the end by Bruno Fernandes, no doubt about it. Whom, by the way, I am recording this as I'm watching Arsenal versus Manchester United. So, if you do sort of hear me, like I said, this is a very free podcast. There's no sort of rhythm to this. There's no structure to this. I'm just going off the cuff, really. So I'm watching Arsenal Man United as I'm doing it, and Bruno's got into a fight with Granit Xhaka for some reason. So, it is what it is. Or is it Martinelli? I don't know. Someone got into a fight with someone. Bruno was involved. But there was a brilliant free kick from Bruno Fernandes to settle that. I saw a lot of Man United fans go gung-ho about the fact that, they beat us, and this was the same week where they drew 0-0 at Anfield, which obviously is a big result for them. But I think, you need to look at the larger context. I think our centre-back issues have forced Jurgen Klopp to play Reece Williams at centre-back. Now, I'm not going to blame Reece Williams. I mean, obviously, he needs to take the blame for the goal, especially the one that Rashford scored. Missed a clean interception, which 9 times out of 10 he should have got. So, we need to blame him for the goal, but at the same time, we need to remember this is a 17-year-old who played non-league football last year. So, this is not a position that he's expecting to be in. If at all, he's probably expecting this season to go out on loan, maybe to a championship side or maybe to a League One side, and develop his game there. He's not expecting to be playing Ajax Amsterdam in the Champions League and Manchester United in the FA Cup. Like, that's not. I mean, yes, it's great that it happened, but it's come at a point where it's too soon for him, and the media criticism, the spotlight of being a Liverpool centre back is going to be. It's going to be shining on him really bright. And I don't think he expected that. I think, his inexperience showed at the end of the day, The fact is, he is an inexperienced defender. His inexperience showed. And I don't think, you can blame Reece Williams for it. I think the blame has to go higher up. Whether that's Jurgen Klopp, whether that's the management, whether that's recruitment now. Look, and obviously I can't speak about, recruitment and stuff and centre-backs without speaking about what happened in the Tottenham game where Joel Matip had to go off at halftime. So, let's just bring that as well into the conversation. So, we've already got Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez out as long-term injuries, and Joel Matip is our only fit real senior centre-back, which I still think it was a mistake to go into the season with just 3 fit centre-backs. I think any good club requires 4, and I recently pointed this out on another forum. You look at any sort of top clubs, you will see that they have 4 centre-backs. You will see that they have 4 centre-backs. You look at, you're watching Manchester United right now. And, they've got Lindelof, they've got, they've got Bailly, they've got Maguire, they've even got Tuanzebe. Obviously Tuanzebe came in for a lot of criticism last game. And he's not played too many Premier League games, but he is still a better Premier League centre-back than Nat Phillips and Reece Williams. And I would still take Tuanzebe as a 4th choice centre-back over these two. And that's not a knock against Nat Phillips or, Reece Williams. Reece Williams could develop into a very good player. And Nat Phillips could become a very good player at another club, maybe a team lower down the table. But they're definitely not 4th choice centre-backs for Liverpool. And you look at any of them, you look at Leicester, for example, you've got Soyuncu, you've got Fofana, you've got a couple of others. I forgot who else, but you've got a couple of others. But every team within the top 6, they've got 4 centre-backs, and I think that's really important. So, you've got Manchester City, you've got 4 quality centre-backs. You've got Nathan Ake, John Stones, Laporte, and Ruben Dias. So any team enters the season with 4 centre-backs. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it's supposed to be. Especially if you're competing on multiple fronts. If you're competing in Europe especially, you need 4 centre-backs. You need 4 quality centre-backs who can fill in at any given point in time. And this is something that I do on Football Manager as well. So it's not knowledge that's just exclusive to the football world or something. This is something that a lot of people do who play Football Manager. You always have 4 centre-backs. You always have 2 replacements for your 2 starting centre-backs. So, the fact that we still haven't got one, and the window is about to close in a couple of days, the fact that we still haven't got one is a travesty. Now, Joel Matip obviously got injured in the Tottenham game, went off at 45 minutes. Ankle ligament injury is what I've heard. I don't know how severe the damage is, how long he's going to be out for, but it's at least going to be out for a week or 2 at the very least. So, Joel Matip, we'll get to him as well. He's along the mold of, your Divock Origi sort of players. Needs to get out of the club, but we'll get to him. But coming to these centre-back injuries and centre-back situation, I think I'm just very surprised that a club of Liverpool stature, with sort of the forward thinking that they haven't recognized that this is a genuine issue and this is a problem that, yes, you may have a long-term solution when it comes to, buying someone in January, and fine, you can make do with that. But I think there comes a point where you need to fast forward certain plans. Things happen. You need to account for sudden changes, for force majeure, basically. You need to account for force majeures. And that's not what Liverpool have done, which is very surprising for a club that has shown so much acumen when it comes to the transfer market. So if you're looking at alternatives, you're looking at, been linked with Sven Botman, for example, from Lille, who's had a very good season there. I don't watch the French league, but I know people who do, and they've told me he's had a very good season there. We've watched Ozan Kabak. Now, Ozan Kabak, I've watched the Bundesliga, not that great this year. Last year was much better, but this year he's not been that great. I do think he can be better at Liverpool, but again, it's a question mark given his performance this year. So I'm not going to place too much hope on him. We've had Ben White as well. He's done well. Whether Brighton are willing to sell him at this point of the season, especially when they're in a relegation battle, I doubt it. Unless, we're paying like a real truckload of money. So, there's a lot of factors that go into this, but I think I'm just very surprised that, especially if you can get someone like Sven Botman. Now, Sven Botman's young, he's athletic, he's agile. I've watched a few compilations of him. I've watched highlights of him on YouTube. I've seen Lille play once or twice as well. So I do know a little bit, and I've heard from people who watch the French league, and they've said he's really, really good. So for me, it makes no sense, because this is a young guy. Now, whether you buy him in the summer or whether you buy him right now, this is a long-term investment. Now, if Botman stays at the club for, let's say, 5-6 years, that's an investment that's paid its return. And if he can, become a good centre-back, a good first-choice centre-back, you're looking at a long-term investment. And, sometimes plans need to be brought forward. And I think I'm very surprised. I think that Liverpool just haven't done it. Obviously, the window's not over, and I'm planning. Oh, that's a good shot. That was a good shot from Fred. Right, so like I said, I'm watching Arsenal versus Manchester United. So occasionally you might hear me get a little digress. I might digress a little bit. But coming back, I'm just very surprised that the club haven't done anything, because this is clearly not a season like any other. This is clearly not a season where you one centre-back gets injured, you can still manage with two other senior centre-backs. This is a situation where you're talking about two senior centre-backs who are long-term injuries and one who cannot seem to play 3 games in a row. And that sort of segues me on to the next point. You've got this guy, this Joel Matip, and there's people like Keita, there's people like... There's a lot of dead... Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. These are people who are sitting at the club, eating salaries, and they're just not available. Now, say what you want about Minamino. He's got a lot to improve in his game, but at least he's available week in, week out. I have not seen Keita play a significant amount of games for a very long time. Okay, it's been half a season. I think the last time I saw him was towards the end of last season, and I haven't seen him since. And then Joel Matip apparently cannot play 3 games in a row, which I don't understand how a centre-back at a club like Liverpool, a club where, you're challenging for Champions League, you're challenging for trophies. I don't understand how a centre-back cannot play 3 games in a row. If you're a centre-back at a club that plays in Europe, whether it's the Europa League or the Premier League and the Champions League, you have to be prepared to play 3 games in a row. You have to. That's just the way it is. These clubs play 3 games in a row in a week. And you have to be prepared to play that. Now, I'm not, defense is generally speaking one of the least rotated positions. Now, if you're a midfielder, fine, I can understand. You're running a lot. You might play 2 out of 3 games a week, maybe 2.5 sometimes. But if you're a defender, and this is not a knock against defenders, but this is very important, because defense is one area of the field where you kind of want stability. It's like the goalkeeper. You just want stability in that area, and you need that stability in defense, and that just comes with consistent selection. That just comes with playing games day in, day out, week in, week out. And I don't understand how you can be a top, or you could call yourself a centre-back at a top club like a Manchester United or a Liverpool or a Chelsea or an Arsenal, a team that plays in Europe, and not be able to play 3 games in a row? It defies logic to me that we still have a centre back at our club who can't play 3 games in a row. I don't get it. And Naby Keita, I mean, this is a man who, when he's available and when he's at his best, he's unbelievable. There's just no question. He's absolutely unbelievable. Right? But when is he available? Look, there's no point having all the talent in the world. You could have the talent of Lionel Messi in the world, but it's of no use to me if you're not playing week in, week out. There's just no point. You have to build your fitness. I get that players are injury prone, but I mean, this is another level of injury prone, which I just don't understand. If he's not good enough to play 3 games in a week, sell him. That's just my thing. Liverpool are going to be playing 3 games in a week, and if your backup centre-back cannot step in every single game that your main centre-back is injured, sell him, because he doesn't deserve to be at this club. No, I'm sorry, Joel Matip. He's a good player. I like him. I like Joel Matip. But if you can't play 3 games in a week, it makes no sense. And I mean, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I'm a little on the fence with him. I think he's not been the same player since the ACL injury. Obviously, we had a good 6-8 month period with him, and then he's just not been the same ever since he suffered that injury against Manchester City. Personally, I think he's still got a little bit in him that he can offer from the bench, but he needs to show it quick. He needs to show it fast, because the one time he did play in these past 3 games, not that great. I'll be very honest, not that great. And he needs to show it, because otherwise he's just joining these guys. I would want Keita, Matip, and Glassware like that, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to go out of the club, because at least then we can buy players who will be available, and that's very important. As a Liverpool Football Club, you need players who are available. You can't run down your starting 11. By the time it's 3/4 of the season, you can't run them down. You can't have very tired legs by the time you get to March, because the crucial period is after March. It's after that international break when it's just it's just club football and nothing else. For 8 weeks or so, you're just thinking, Champions League, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, Premier League run in maybe the last 10 games or so. That's when, title challenges are made. That's when, cup finals are played. That's when Champions League finals are played. I mean, you need players for those games. And you can't have a rundown team at that stage. That's just my opinion. And in order for us to not suffer the consequences of that, I think we need backups who are capable. I think we need backups who are good, who are capable of replacing the first team without a drop-off in performance. Now, I know it's very easy to say that and it's harder to do, but we have found players. Diogo Jota as an example. We have found people who can do this. So that's just what I want to say. Now, as for sort of the other performances, when it comes to the good performances that we've had the past couple of games, I thought Thiago Alcantara was really good. Mo Salah's found his goal scoring touch, which is good. Mane's found his goal scoring touch. Firmino's found his goal scoring touch. So the obvious sort of outline is that front three are backfiring, and I think long may that continue, obviously. And I do think that is that is important going into the games that are coming ahead, because we have a lot of crucial games. I think we play Leicester, Man City. We've got West Ham next. Not an easy game to play. West Ham are doing really, really well in the league. So we've got West Ham next in London. We've got Brighton after that. Then you've got Manchester City, Leicester, Leipzig, Everton. And then you've got Sheffield United and then Fulham. So kind of an easy game, I guess. And then before we get back to Leipzig again in the second leg of the Champions League. So we need the front three firing, because we need to win as many games as possible. Especially the game against Manchester City is absolutely important at Anfield. We need to beat them. We need to beat them if we want to make this a title race, because otherwise Manchester City right now, the form that they are in, they're going to run away with the league. And there's just nothing we can do to stop them. So, yeah, for me, I think, the front three backfiring, I think that's the big sort of takeaway from these last 3 games. I thought the game against Burnley was just a matter of clicking. there was just one or two moments where we didn't click, I felt. Obviously, I didn't watch the full game. I watched extended highlights. But, looking at the game against Manchester United, I thought we did well. And then, of course, the game against Tottenham, we were just absolutely magnificent. I can't speak English, apparently. I thought we were brilliant. Let's not struggle with the words. I thought we were brilliant. So, for me, I thought the Tottenham game was, I think, what we could be as Liverpool going into the second half of the season. I thought Jordan Henderson at centre-back has been unbelievable. I was not a big fan. You guys, if you listened to my podcast earlier, you know that I've not been a big fan of Jordan Henderson at centre-back. Now, obviously, it's not ideal because I would still prefer him to be playing in midfield as I would Fabinho. But I think he's done an unbelievable job. He's been an absolute leader at the back. He's done a brilliant job for us at centre-back alongside Fabinho. So it's kind of a very weird situation because if we end up putting in a title challenge, I'm not saying winning the title, but if we end up putting in a title, that was good. United came close. Good defending by Martinelli. Anyway, so if we put in a title challenge with two midfielders playing at the heart of defense, I would say that's probably one of Jurgen Klopp's biggest achievements. And if we do win the title with this, I think it's unbelievable. I think it's just brilliant. But it's a long season, long way to go. Anything can happen. It's been a topsy-turvy season. Obviously, we've seen Arsenal be close to relegation candidates. Now in the new year, they've played 6 and won 5 of them and drawn the other one. So, anything can happen. This is a very, very weird season. Manchester United were top of the league. For City went top. It's a strange season. It's a weird season. Do I think we can still challenge for the title? I still think we can. Do I think we can win it? Obviously, it's a lot harder now. I don't think we've coped very well with injuries now. And I think we've been let down by certain players who, not in terms of form, I'm not going to blame the front three, but I think just in terms of availability, injury, we've been let down by players like Tsimikas, like Matip, like Keita, and all these guys. So I'm not going to blame the front three because a loss of form is expected. Firmino's back in form though, which is a good thing. Firmino, I've been saying, he's been out of form for a while. He's been, he's been good. Yeah, he was good against Tottenham. Let's see if it continues, obviously, or is it just, his yearly quota against Tottenham? I don't know. But let's see if it continues. And if it does continue, then it'll be really nice. Nicolas Pepe comes close. I think that's a corner for Arsenal. Anyway, coming now to sort of how do we get around this centre-back crisis. The transfer window is the obvious answer. Klopp has said that it's not in his hands. We've all known this. I don't know why Liverpool fans found that to be such a surprise. We've all known this. Transfers have never been Klopp's area. Gone are the days of Fergie and Wenger where they had control over transfers. I think we all know it's not Klopp's main area. I mean, there's a group of people responsible for it. There's Michael Edwards, the scouting department. There's people responsible for it. So I don't know why that came as a surprise to a lot of Liverpool fans. But what I will say is, I said it earlier, I'm surprised by the inactivity so far in the window. We've nearly closed the window and we've still not got a centre-back. We've been rumoured to sign Aaron Long from Red Bulls New York, which would be a massive downgrade, I can't lie. A couple of years ago, I watched the MLS, so I know what I'm talking about. A couple of years ago, I would have said Aaron Long, brilliant player. I wouldn't say he's going to be world-class, but I think he would have made a good centre-back a couple of years ago if it bought him. But now, as a 28-year-old, I think, he's more or less, his game is complete and he's a good centre-back, but he's not Liverpool quality, let's face it. He would fit in well with the likes of, maybe Newcastle or Brighton even, but I just don't see him fitting in well at Liverpool. I just don't see that. But Aaron Long is a name that's been linked with us. Personally, I would rather spend the money, get Sven Botman, because we need a centre-back. We need a good centre-back. Even Pershers from Ajax was really good, really impressive. He's been really impressive in the Eredivisie as well. Was really good against us in the Champions League. And generally, he was just very good in the Champions League against whoever he played with. It was Atlanta, Midtjylland or Liverpool. So he was really good. So I wouldn't mind him. Even Ozan Kabak, I wouldn't mind because now there's a little question mark about him because of what Schalke's been through this season. So I wouldn't hang my hat on him. But I think I would say definitely if we're going for someone from the Bundesliga, I would say Upamecano or, the Leipzig boys, Konate, Upamecano. I think those guys are really good. There's also Edmund Tapsoba from Leverkusen, who's quite good. Jonathan Tah. I'm not such a big fan of Jonathan Tah, but he is a good defender. Milan Skriniar is another one from Inter Milan that I really like. I thought he's a good defender. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole load of options. It's just about finding the right person and finding the sort of. I'm sure Liverpool's had their eye on some target for the summer. My thing is just bring that forward because we desperately need it. If we're not going to sign a centre back right now, I don't know what to say because we've seen. Even through this January, we've seen other managers be backed. Like Mikel Arteta has been backed. His reserve goalkeeper is no good, so they went out and got Matt Ryan on loan from Brighton. So I just think we need to back Jurgen Klopp. After all that he's won for us, I think it's time we backed him a little bit. And I'm not saying he's not been backed. I think he has been backed. And Bruno Fernandes comes close. Right, he's not. I'm not saying he's not been backed. He has been backed. Of course he has, but I think this is, it's times like these, it's crisis times like these that really show what owners are made up of. And, obviously we've got John Henry, who's also owns the Red Sox, and the Red Sox fans aren't too happy about what he's doing with them. Let's hope he doesn't get the Liverpool fans on the wrong side as well. But yeah, I mean, there'll be a bigger episode on the transfer window coming up. I think I've got a guest lined up, hopefully. So, we'll get a bigger episode on the transfer window coming up, depending on what we do over the next couple of days. Or what we don't do over the next couple of days, and then we'll see how that goes. But there's that, and then let's just see where we're at. So that's kind of what I would say. What's been going on at Liverpool. That's kind of what my thoughts on what's been going on over the past 3 games actually. Overall impressions, I thought the encouraging signs were that we're back in terms of attack. Henderson's doing well, Fabinho's doing well in the heart of defence, so I think those were good signs to watch. Curtis Jones still seems good in terms of form. Reece Williams and Nat Phillips did alright against Tottenham when he did come on. I think Reece Williams, it's just his inexperience really that's held him back. But otherwise, I think we've been okay. Wijnaldum's been fine. James Milner's been fine. Thiago's been Thiago. There's really no words to describe how elegant a footballer he is. And he just makes the game look a little bit easier. So for me, I think overall we've been good. If I had to rate them, I'd probably say it's a 6.5 out of 10. Could be a lot better. Trent's obviously improved. I couldn't leave this episode without giving a shout out to Trent. Obviously, the game against Tottenham was really good. The goal would have done a massive deal for his confidence. So that's good. But generally speaking, Trent was all right. Even the game against Tottenham, I thought his crosses were better. Not his best performance yet when it comes to, just aside from the goal. If you leave the goal aside, not his best performance. I thought he could have done a lot better. And I thought he got caught out defensively a few times by Son Heung-min. But I think overall he did okay. And, that uptick in form, if you keep it going, then, he'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, nothing much to speak about. I've got another episode lined up, which will be coming at you the day after this one releases, which is day after tomorrow from as of now, when I'm recording it. And that will be interesting because I'm going to do a team of the season so far. And I was planning to release that episode earlier, but obviously I fell ill. A whole bunch of stuff happened, so I couldn't do it. But I do want to release that episode. I want to get some reactions as well because that's going to be interesting. Because the players I've chosen, I think deserve to be on there. But there's a couple of, I wouldn't say omissions, but there's definitely omissions from the starting 11 because I've chosen a starting 11 and a bench of 9, as is the case in the Premier League right now. So I've chosen a starting 11 and a bench of 9, but definitely there's a few eyebrows that's going to be raised at that. So I'm looking forward to recording that episode as well. I might actually record it right after this one because pretty much the material's ready. It's just I just have to record it. But yeah, that's been me just talking about the Burnley game, Manchester United and Tottenham. I'm glad that we won against Tottenham. Got back to winning ways in the Premier League. I wish we'd done better in the Cup, but Bruno Fernandes, that was a brilliant free kick at the end. So Nothing much to complain there. United, I wouldn't say deserved their win. I thought we were the better team, but I think, it wasn't a bad result. It wasn't an undeserved. It wasn't a deserved victory, but it wasn't an undeserved victory either. Like, it's sort of somewhere in between. So, but yeah, it is what it is. We're out of the FA Cup. Obviously, we know that's very low down Klopp's priority list. I don't agree because I would rather compete for every trophy there is. But it is what it is. That's how Liverpool operate apparently. So not much I can say about that. Yeah, but that's it, man. That's it from me for this episode. Talking about what's happened in the Burnley game, the United game, and the Spurs game. Overall, we were good, but we could definitely be better. But if this form continues, I would at least hope for a title challenge. I think this form. And, we'll see how that goes. But that's been me. That's been Seshadri. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you for all the support on the podcast. You can listen to this on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you get your podcast from. And, I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you guys enjoy your day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, whatever. And I will see you guys next time. Goodbye. Also, just a small word on what happened at Chelsea. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, who are living under a rock, pretty much. Thomas Tuchel is now Chelsea's new manager. Obviously, he took charge of their 0-0 draw against Wolves. He's replaced Frank Lampard. So, a club legend in Lampard has departed, which obviously I don't think was an easy sight for any Chelsea fan. I think, if that situation, if I was to extrapolate that to Liverpool, if the same thing happened to Gerrard, then it wouldn't be easy. But there's a couple of things. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors as to why. Not rumors, there's a lot of facts as to why Lampard's reign was never going to be too long. Obviously, there were disputes with Marina Granovskaya. There were people who were disappointed that he wanted to re-sign Declan Rice. There's a whole lot of factors. Some of his training methods didn't go down too well. Some of the senior players. Ultimately, I think the fact is, just as it is with most managerial sackings, he lost the dressing. And when that happens, the writing's pretty much on the wall. Frank Lampard, did he deserve more time? I would say, I think the manager that I can compare him the most to is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Because Solskjaer had a worse record, or almost a near identical record at least, through the same number of games that Lampard's been in charge. And look at where he is right now. Now, obviously, he's been... I wouldn't say Solskjaer has been backed in the transfer window, but he's had a better transfer window, I think, than maybe what some United fans expected. Chelsea, obviously, their ambitions were a lot higher. I think United I think even now they would take a top 4 this season. I don't think they're really looking at a title challenge, even though they are at the moment in the thick of it. So I think for Lampard and Chelsea, I think the ambitions were always higher. I think the ambitions were always to kind of close the gap between Chelsea and Manchester City and Liverpool, which hasn't happened. Which let's be real, it hasn't happened. There's been a lot of reasons. I think there's definitely a disconnect between what Lampard wanted for the club and what Chelsea wanted for the club, what Roman Abramovich wanted for the club. Now, Chelsea's always been about trophies, and it's always worked for them. They've had managers for 2 years, they've won a trophy, didn't perform the second season, got sacked, didn't perform the third season, got sacked. That's always been Chelsea's culture. So Frank Lampard knew what he was walking into, and yet when Lampard walked in, I think he anticipated this to be more of a project, a long-term thing than maybe what transpired. Obviously, the transfer ban being halved helped. He got a couple of players in. This summer, especially, the window was, on paper, it was supposed to be really great for them. But, Werner's not fired. Havertz has been missing. He's not even a quarter of the player that he was in the Bundesliga. He's obviously Lampard's had trouble with injuries as well. Pulisic's been out injured for a while. Ziyech's been out injured for a while, so he's never really had a settled starting 11. And even I don't think he even knew what a settled starting 11 was. So I don't know quite. I don't know where I stand on whether Lampard's sacking was deserved, because I think on first thought, I think I said yes. I think emphatically yes. For the team that he's had, I think he deserve more time? Does he deserve to be given another chance? At the time I said no, because he had a really good team, and in my preseason predictions I said, look, Chelsea are not going to close the gap down to City and Liverpool just yet, but give them a year or two and I think they will, because I thought this season they had a team that was well clear of United and Tottenham and Arsenal for third place. So I would say Chelsea's underperformed. But that being said, I think we've learned from other clubs. I think United has been a little slow to learn about this. I think Arsenal's learned it as well. Sacking the manager regularly is not the solution. And I don't know if that's the culture you want to build at any club, really. You want to give managers time. You want to, give them the backing in the transfer window. You want to give them players. And I think at the end of the day, Lampard, he's been backed in the transfer market. More was expected out of him. But I don't know if he performed that badly. Like, everything, all it takes is a few games. And that's it. Like just look at Arsenal, They were in the relegation battle, pretty much in the relegation battle, about 7 or 8 games ago. And now look at them. They're more towards the top half than they are towards relegation. So it just takes a few games in this Premier League season. But obviously there are other factors. He's not done well against top 6 teams. I think that's also there. I think the way they lost to Manchester City, that's also been a big factor. They've really not imposed themselves against the top 6. So and if you want to win trophies at Chelsea, you have to impose yourself against the top 6. Especially if you're looking at the Premier League title. At least at home, at least at Stamford Bridge, people should be like, okay, Chelsea is not an easy game to play at Stamford Bridge. And that was the aura that you had when you had Jose Mourinho in charge, when you had Ancelotti in charge, for example. So Chelsea's always been a difficult place to go and play. But under Lampard, somehow that never seemed to be the case. The other thing is, I never felt Chelsea had an identity. I thought United struggled at the start of the season to have an identity. But now, you can see patterns of play with United. And I'm literally just watching them right now. But you can see patterns of play with United, which I don't see with Chelsea. And I think that's also there because there's no real identity, there's no real pedigree now. I think there were a lot of people who said, if this wasn't Chelsea, then Lampard himself would have walked away after last season. Possibly. I think his love for the club held him back, I guess, a little bit. Maybe made him want him to try a little bit longer. It's unfortunately that's the situation at Chelsea. They always sack managers before they want immediate success, and I don't think they're about long-term sustainability in terms of building an identity. I don't think that's what Chelsea are about, and I think that culture is slowly it was prevalent in English football at a time, but I think right now Chelsea is kind of the only team that does it because Guardiola's there at City for a while now. Klopp's been at Liverpool for a while. Solskjaer looks like he's got United playing a certain way. They've not had the best of Champions League campaigns, let's not forget that, but there are still certain patterns of play. There are still certain things that you can see with the Manchester United's play. Mikel Arteta, Arsenal have realized that sacking managers one after the other is going to do them no good. They've decided, okay, we're going to stick it out with Arteta. We're going to change the players over the course of the next few seasons and we'll see how that goes. So, every club's realizing that the manager needs time. That 1 or 2 seasons is not going to do it. And I think Chelsea, sooner they come to that idea, it'll be better. Now, Thomas Tuchel, I think, great replacement for him. Probably the best that they could get in the market. Maybe Allegri, but I don't think Allegri's style of football would have appealed to Chelsea fans, really. I think Tuchel was also brought in to get the best out of the German players. I don't think he's worked with Werner or Havertz before, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, he's won titles in France. Some would say that's not a big achievement, but winning titles anywhere, I think, is a little bit of an achievement at least. Took PSG to the Champions League final, and on any other day, I think PSG would have won that final. Like, Bayern weren't as dominant as they were against Barcelona, for example, when they played PSG. So, Tuchel took PSG further than any other manager ever had. So he's definitely got the pedigree to do it. He's taken Dortmund further than they've ever been. I think since Jurgen Klopp left. And yeah, I mean, look, I do think they're a good team. I do think they have the potential even now to salvage the season, maybe get into the top four. But it's going to be a difficult ask. It's going to be a very difficult ask. I think Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel will be judged on whether or not they win trophies. Next season especially is going to be a key season for them. I do think, next season if Chelsea doesn't win, I think that keeping Tuchel in the job after that, I think given Abramovich and the way he operates, I think it's going to be very, very difficult. He at least needs a trophy, and I'm talking at least an FA Cup at the very least. But for the team that they have, I think Chelsea should be aiming a lot higher than an FA Cup. So we don't know how that's going to go, but those are just my thoughts on it. Do I think Lampard deserved the sack? Hard one for me to say as an outsider. I think if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd probably say no. I think he needs to be given more time. But Lampard knew what he was taking up. Lampard knew what Chelsea's culture was. So you can't say he walked in blind. And he's paid the price for it. Some of his decisions, I don't know if I would be happy with. Some of the results in the games, I don't know if I would be happy with. I think for me as a fan, the nail in the coffin, I think would have been the Manchester City game. I think that's the immediate sort of trigger. But I think generally speaking, if you're a Chelsea fan and you're dropping points to the top six, you don't want to be dropping points to anyone else. And that's not how a football season works. You don't win 24 games and lose 10 and try and get into the Champions League or whatever. But it's a very difficult job. That job is basically a revolving door, and we don't know how Tuchel's going to go about his business at Chelsea. Obviously, wish him the best of luck. Hopefully, he does well, but not well enough to beat Liverpool. But those are just my thoughts. I don't know if I would say Frank Lampard sacking. I'm a little bit on the fence when it comes to Lampard sacking. I think he should have been given a little more time. But it is what it is. It is how Chelsea operate. I can't do much about that. But I forgot to add this segment at the end of that. So this is a little bit of an addendum to the episode. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the small piece on Lampard and Chelsea. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Goodbye.